One of my favorite things to do at the beginning of the new year is choose one word as my theme for the year. And in 2024, I am declaring that it is the year of the glow up, especially financially. So if you're ready to glow up with me and make 2024 the year that you create financial freedom, then this is the perfect podcast episode for you. Because on today's episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, we're going to be talking about how you can manifest financial freedom in 2024.
What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, the podcast that demystifies all of the nonsense that surrounds manifestation and gives you the tools that you need to create your happiest, healthiest, and wealthiest life. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert and life coach, and I am so happy that you're here. Let's fucking do this thing.
Okay, y'all, so let me tell you, this is a declaration that I only ever said out loud for the first time to my friend Vivi at the beginning of November, and I have never publicly shared what I'm about to say with all of you before. So I am claiming and I am declaring that I will be a self-made millionaire by the age of 30, which is less than 2 years away, if not earlier than that. And I know that this is part of my path. Literally before I was ever even in business or had a business, I knew that I was going to be a millionaire. I knew that I was going to be the first millionaire in my family. And I hadn't really taken it seriously yet until recently. And so with this podcast episode and with this declaration, I wanted to share with you guys a bit of my money story, as well as how you can create financial freedom in 2024. Because creating financial freedom, honestly, is one of the greatest things that I have ever done for myself. I genuinely cannot tell you how good it feels to feel that level of freedom that you have when you are not worrying or stressing about money in some sort of way. And there's lots of different ways that we can look at financial freedom. So we're going to talk about that inside of today's podcast episode as well. But I just want you to know that if you are here listening to this episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, financial freedom is possible for you. And I want to say that outright straight away because there are so many limiting resources, so many scarce resources, so many fear-based resources out there that will tell you that you're never going to create financial freedom unless you skimp in every single aspect of your life, or if you sacrifice, or if you never see the inside of a restaurant again. And while those resources may work for some people, the reality is that they don't work for the majority of people. And the reason they work for some people is because some people are very motivated by fear. They're very motivated by shame or guilting themselves into things. And if that has not been the route for you, then know that there is another way. When I created financial freedom for myself, I didn't skimp in any sort of area of my life. In fact, I actually was increasing my energetic standards. I was increasing what I was available for in my life. I was moving to New York City, which is officially listed as the most expensive city in the world. And I still managed to create that financial freedom. So let this be your reminder that you are the powerful creator of your reality, and therefore whatever you choose to be true for yourself is what is going to manifest. So you can choose to believe that you must sacrifice, you must skimp, you must cut back on all things in your life to create financial freedom, or you can choose to believe that you are capable of creating the freedom that you desire in your life without having to sacrifice, without having to remove all of the things that you love or all of the things that you want. Because I don't know about you, but that feels a lot more attractive to me. So we're going to be diving into all of this on today's podcast episode, as well as how you can create that financial freedom in 2024. But before we dive into the actual podcast, I just want to let you know that if you are serious about manifesting your best life in 2024, if you are serious about creating that financial freedom through the law of attraction, then I highly suggest joining my brand new membership community, the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle. This is a low-cost membership group. It's only $27 a month, but you get thousands and thousands of dollars worth of coaching and resources on a monthly basis to help you get to where you want to be inside of your finances, inside of your life, inside of your manifestations, inside of your relationships, so on and so forth. And with the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle, there are monthly group coaching calls, an extensive resource library of different videos, monthly courses, workshops, and so much more. And actually, in January of 2024, our new monthly rotating mini course is called Wealthy as Fuck. And it's all about manifesting the money that you desire this year. So if you want more than just what I have available to you here on the podcast, come join us in the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle. You can find the link to join down below in the show notes. But with that being said, let's dive into the meat of this podcast episode and talk about how you can manifest financial freedom in 2024. So, if you know me, if you've been hanging out with me here on the podcast, or if this is your first time hanging out with me, I want you to know that the most important thing to always start with when it comes to manifesting whatever it is that you desire in your life, whether that be financial freedom or something else, is that you have to understand what is currently creating the reality that you have. One of the biggest flaws, one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to their manifestation journey is that they do not take the time to assess what life currently looks like for them and why it currently looks that way. So specifically taking this into the example of money, what does your current financial circumstance look like and why does it look that way? And we're not saying why in terms of like what are the different circumstances that happened and what are the events that led you to be in debt or be near the end of your savings or whatever it may be. If you're in a situation that feels unfortunate or uncomfortable to you, we're talking about what beliefs and what behaviors led you to that place. Because when we get to the very roots of manifestation, all manifestation essentially is using your thoughts and using your subconscious mind to create your reality, because your thoughts and your subconscious mind then dictate what you believe, and what you believe is then how you will act in terms of your behaviors. It's what you'll feel in terms of your emotions, and it's how you will operate on a day-to-day basis. So when we are talking about getting this clear understanding of why you are in the situation that you're in, you want to look at what are the beliefs, what are the thoughts, what are the stories, what are the narratives that are creating that in the first place. And so some common examples with money manifestation is that you have the belief that you have to work really hard to make money, or that you'll never get ahead, or that you can't be happy and make money, or that you'd rather be happy than have a lot of money, or that money is the root of all evil, or that money creates more problems. More money, more problems. They say that a lot. So what is it for you? What are the limiting stories? What are the scarce stories? What are the fear-based stories? What are those stories that you're like, doesn't feel too good, but I've just kind of accepted it as truth? Because those are the stories, those are the narratives, those are the beliefs that you want to get clear on, because those are the things that are affecting your vibration and calling in the less than ideal circumstances that you currently have in your finances. So for example, within my life and my experience when I was creating financial freedom for myself, I had the belief that if I made more money, people weren't going to love me anymore. I had the belief that if I continued to expand beyond what I had already created for myself, I was going to lose touch with the people that I love the most. And the reason that I had this belief is because I grew up in an agriculture town, and in my sweet little town, there is a ski town next to us, and the ski town has a lot more money than our agriculture town. And my parents, my family, a lot of my friends and their parents would always look at the people from the ski town and talk about them as if they weren't good people, or that they were snotty or snobby or full of themselves, or just generally greedy and rude and not the kind of person that we wanted to be. I was always told the story of, well, they may have that, but at least we're good people. And so for me, as I started to make more and more money, there was this deep subconscious belief inside of me that started to make me feel like I was a bad person, that I was fucked up, that I was wrong for having money, and it blocked me from wanting to attain more. And this wasn't happening consciously. This was manifesting in habits that felt like self-sabotage. This was manifesting in procrastination. This was manifesting in spending more money than I actually had. This was manifesting in the way of putting debt onto my credit cards. And when I finally understood that I had this belief that if I continued to expand beyond where I was financially, that I wouldn't be lovable to the people that I love the most, I was finally able to start to do something about that. So again, you want to understand, what are the beliefs? What are the stories? What are the things that you've seen? And a lot of the times your limiting beliefs won't come directly from like some of these cheesy limiting beliefs that you hear online if you just Google like, what are limiting beliefs? You'll actually be experiencing them through what you saw your parents or your primary caregivers going through, what you experienced in your community, what you felt from other people when they were spending money growing up and were full of anxiety or were full of all of this energy that was unsupportive. Those are where a lot of these kind of like sneaky hidden limiting beliefs come from, and being able to identify those things and understand what your current relationship with money is so beneficial, because the reality of it, and if y'all listen to the podcast, you've heard me say this example many a times, but it's kind of like you have this pile of shit that's hanging out, and if you don't clean up that pile of shit, it's going to start to stink. You can't just put something shiny and pretty in front of this pile of shit and expect it not to smell. Because eventually, if you don't clean it up, it's just going to get worse and worse. And while you may be trying to mask it on the surface, that masking isn't actually going to do anything that's beneficial for you. And in reality, it's actually just going to lead you to the position where you feel as though you're taking multiple steps backwards to have to eventually deal with it. So another way to look at this is, if money was a person, what kind of relationship would you have with money? What kind of dynamic would you have with this person? Would it be a love-hate relationship? Would it be an avoidant relationship? Would it be a one-sided relationship? Are you using this person? Are you gaslighting this person? Are you talking shit about this person? Understand what your relationship is with money, because without that understanding, you cannot start to change it. We cannot change within ourselves and within our lives what we are not willing to recognize and what we do not recognize. So being able to really assess this at the very beginning is so important for long-lasting, sustainable change in your life and in your finances, so that you can actually create that financial freedom, but then sustain that financial freedom. Because let's be honest, that's what we actually want. We want the sustained financial freedom. We don't just want the quick bit of financial freedom and then to go back into the old patterns of the past that led you here in the first place. And I say this all with so much love, so much grace. This is not blaming you. This is not shaming you. This is not saying you've done anything wrong. This is just creating this level of awareness around it, because again, without awareness, there's nothing we can actually change. So showing up to the table with this love, with this compassion, with this willingness to meet yourself, because through that willingness, you'll actually start to create those positive shifts and changes that you're wanting to see, as opposed to get stuck in some sort of shame cycle or some sort of guilt cycle that so many of us experience when it comes to money. And I just want to say, if you're in that and you're listening to this podcast episode right now, props to you for even putting yourself into the situation to start to look at this. Because I know firsthand experience how heavy this can be to actually start to look at your finances. I know how much shame can be attached to it, and there's nothing to be shameful for here. I'm so excited and so honored that you tuned into this podcast episode today to make the decision to be empowered in your finances. So that is your first step of this. That is the first place that you want to start when starting this journey of creating financial freedom in your life and creating financial freedom in 2024. And then from that point, you want to, with all of these things that you've discovered from your money dynamic, from your relationship, from the limiting beliefs, the stories from the past, all of these experiences that you've had, you want to start to heal those things. And again, if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me talk about so many different healing modalities. So I'm not going to go super in depth into all of the different healing modalities on this podcast episode. But what I will say is that some very powerful places to start with this is, one, just opening up your journal, just dumping everything out of your brain and onto a piece of paper, because a lot of the times it's hard for us to process and comprehend what we're experiencing when we're just trying to keep it all up in our heads. We were actually talking about this the other day on one of the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle group calls. One of the members, Joel, was talking about how he came across this book or concept where they're talking about journaling, the power of journaling, and how a lot of the times if you were to do, say, like a mental math problem, you could probably say like, okay, 6 times 6 is 36. But what's 12,337 times 372? You would need to grab a piece of paper to be able to do that math and put it onto a piece of paper versus try to figure that all out in your head. The same is true for a lot of these things that we try to compartmentalize. A lot of these things that we're just trying to figure out in our heads, if you can get it down onto a piece of paper, it helps you actually look through and process whatever it is that you need help processing through. So a great place to start is literally just grabbing your journal, but there's other powerful tools, one of them being EFT tapping. One of the things that I give to the members inside of the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle, as well as my clients inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy, are different EFT tapping videos where you can move through any of these old limiting beliefs that are being latched onto neural pathways inside of your subconscious mind that continue to create the same cycles over and over again, so that you can step back into this place of releasing those limiting beliefs through EFT tapping. And for anybody who is completely new to the concept of EFT tapping, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And neuroscience shows that it's one of the most effective ways to help you release old limiting beliefs and stored stagnant emotion inside of your body. EFT tapping is something that I try to do on a day-to-day basis. I'm not 100% perfect with it 100% of the time, but it's been one of the most helpful healing modalities that I have used and approached in my life. And then another big one is doing somatic healing surrounding your relationship with money. So when you do somatic healing, it is essentially accessing stored stagnant energy inside of the body and helping you release and process that energy from the body versus just the brain. Because a lot of the times we can consciously understand something, but if our body still feels unsafe surrounding money, then you can oftentimes still find yourself back in these old habits and behaviors that are not serving and supporting you. So somatic healing is, again, one of the most powerful things that I've done for myself, and that's one of the things that I guide all of my clients through. So if you're wanting support with that, definitely come hang out with me, and I can help you move through these different things somatically. And then lastly with this, for healing, when it comes to completely shifting your relationship with money and stepping into a more wealthy, abundant version of yourself, that's what's going to ultimately, at the end of the day, help you create the financial freedom. And in order to do that, you must rewire the structure of the subconscious mind to work for you versus against you. So I can imagine if you're listening to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, you've heard of the concept of scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset. And scarcity mindset is the mindset that holds you in these old limiting patterns, in the fear, in the self-sabotage, instant gratification, the things that have led you to having less than ideal finances in the first place. Whereas having an abundance mindset is putting you into an empowered mindset and energy with your finances. Having an abundance mindset is what will ultimately, at the end of the day, help you sustain the financial freedom that you are creating for yourself. Because when you work really hard but still have that scarcity mindset, yes, you could probably put yourself in the position where you clear out any of the debts that you have and put yourself into a place of financial freedom. But ultimately, at least in my opinion, you still aren't financially free, because if you have a scarcity mindset, you're still stressing about money all the time. You still have all of these money fears, all of these money worries. You're not actually free. You're still being held down, being weighted down by the anxiety, by the fears, by those negative thoughts surrounding money. And therefore, that's not true freedom. And that's like I was saying at the very beginning of the podcast episode, there's a lot of different lenses. There's a lot of different nuances surrounding money. And when we talk about financial freedom may look completely different for each person that's listening to this podcast episode, because maybe financial freedom for you means that you aren't terrified to swipe your credit card at the grocery store, even though you have money in the bank to be able to pay for those groceries. And that's where creating this abundance mindset comes into place, because when you can free yourself mentally and emotionally from the anxiety and from the burdens that you've been carrying around your finances, then that's a form of freedom. There's also the freedom that comes with paying off your debt. There's also the freedom that comes with putting enough money in your savings account. There's also the freedom that comes with having money in the checking account. There's also freedom that comes in having the investments, whatever it may be for you. But ultimately, for all of these things, having an abundance mindset is essentially your baseline that is necessary for you to actually have it long lasting and sustainably and feel really damn good about it. So if you are in the space of recognizing, again, you typically fall into that scarcity mindset, this is where you want to really start to dig, really start to look through, understand that money story, and heal your financial past by using different healing modalities and rewiring the structure of the subconscious mind. And again, if that is something that you need support with, come join MMC, because Wealthy as Fuck, this new mini course that I'm going to be releasing, is going to help you break down each of these concepts. But moving on from that point, once you've gotten this really solid of understanding what your current money story is and why your current financial circumstances are the way they are, and you've started to heal those things, you don't have to be fully healed. And that's something that I want to throw out there, because a lot of the times, a lot of resources will tell you that you must be fully healed in order for you to manifest the things that you want into your life. And my friend, that is a bunch of bullshit. We are all on this healing journey. We will all always be on this healing journey. We will never be 100% healed. So you can attract and manifest abundance. You can attract and manifest money into your life without being 100% healed. Doing the healing work is just helping you sustain it. So with that being said, once you have gotten to the place that you have this deep understanding of it, you're doing the work to heal it, you want to start to open yourself up to abundance. And I know that may sound kind of funky, but the reality is, for a lot of us, is that because we've been so programmed, hardwired to believe that money can only show up in certain ways, then we latch onto and hold these limiting beliefs around how money can and will show up in our lives. Opening yourself up to abundance is so necessary, because money and abundance is flowing constantly. Literally, money and abundance is everywhere. It is energy. It is in every single thing that we do. But when you are closed off to abundance, when you're closed off to money, you don't always see it and you don't always experience it. But what I want you to think about, and the way that I want you to start to reframe how abundant money actually is thinking about money. Like we said, all it is energy. Just like air. I can imagine nobody listening to this podcast ever worries that there's going to be enough air to breathe. There's always going to be enough air to breathe. There's always going to be oxygen that you can fill your lungs with. And therefore, there's always going to be money that is available to you. That is all that money is. It is just an energy. So when you can start to open yourself up to that, even if it's just like, okay, Kat, like, yeah, in theory, I think I understand what you're saying, but like that kind of sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Okay, that's fine. Place that to the side for just a moment and open yourself up with me for just a moment here to think about the fact that making money could be as easy as breathing. Making money could be as easy as doing your favorite things. Making money could be as easy as shifting your mindset, shifting your perspective, stepping into a new energy. I was on a client call this morning and I was telling my client about how I've set these new rules for myself recently. I just went through a period of time where I was releasing a ton of old stories, old narratives, old things from the past. There was so much intensity surrounding that. And when I came out the other side of it, I was like, fuck, let's make life fun. Like, let's make this fun. And so I decided that I had this rule for myself that every single time I eat a sweet green salad, which if y'all don't know Sweet Green is literally my favorite salad place ever. But every single time I eat sweet green, I make money. That is the new rule. It can be as easy as that. Opening myself up to new ways abundance wants to flow into my life. And so as I went from my hometown to Denver the other day, I finally got to eat some sweet green because there's definitely no sweet green in my hometown. But I was sitting at Sweet Green in Denver and I was like, okay, I've decided for myself that every single time I eat a sweet green salad, I make money. And lo and behold, didn't look at my phone as I was eating my salad, but when I picked it back up after eating the salad, I had made 3 sales. It can be as easy as that. Let me remind you, you are the powerful co-creator of your reality. And the universe, God, source, spirit, whatever it is for you, is always saying yes to you. So if you want abundance to flow into your lives in ways that it never has before, decide that. Decide that it can be that easy for you. Because like I've been saying in step 1 and step 2 of this, if you can release the limiting beliefs, if you can understand why you have those limitations in the first place and clear those things out, then you're starting with a fresh canvas for you to create new rules for yourself. Money can be as easy as eating a salad. Opening yourself up to abundance can be as easy as doing your favorite thing. Whatever feels effortless to you, money can be that. So owning that energy and holding yourself open for it and catching yourself in the moments that you find yourself closing off again, because that's completely normal as well. Another rule that I made for myself is that the more I take care of my body, the more abundance flows into my life. So the more that I then honor my body, I properly nourish it with incredible foods. I go out and exercise. I shower. I take care of my skin. I do the things that my body needs me to do, the more money I make. It doesn't have to be these old, weird, funky paradigms and rules and standards that society has handed to us, because those rules and those standards, they don't work for a majority of people. And if you are following a rule book that doesn't work for you, that's not your rule book. It's time to place that one to the side and create a new empowered rule book that's going to serve and support you in ways that holds you open to the natural flow of abundance that the universe is constantly trying to give us. Our natural states are thriving. We are thriving. Our needs are taken care of. Our heart's desires are taken care of. Everything that we want is taken care of as our natural baseline energy. But majority of us have been disconnected from that because of these weird ass funky societal conditionings that try to tell you otherwise. So if you can come back home to your natural state of being, which is abundant, taken care of, having more than enough, being so full that you then have overflow, then that is the energy that you will attract back into your life via the law of attraction and create more wealth as a byproduct of that. So again, even if it's just for today, even if this conversation is like, oh my God, I don't know how this is possible for me, but I want it to be true, give yourself permission to believe that it is true. That this can be your reality, that it can be this easy, that it doesn't have to be so damn hard, so difficult to have your wants and your needs taken care of. Because that should be and can be and gets to be the standard. And speaking of standards, The next step in really creating this financial freedom for yourself in 2024 is making overflow your new standard. So what do I mean by overflow? What I mean by overflow is more than enough money. That gets to become your new standard. So when I first was creating financial freedom for myself, I took this very honest look at what were the stories, what were the beliefs, what were the behaviors that I was embodying. And I identified that I was really stuck in this cycle of just enough. Living paycheck to paycheck, just enough to get by, because if I had just enough to get by, that I would survive. And if I was surviving, then hey, at least I was still here. But the energy of just enough, the energy of surviving is not going to be the energy that ultimately puts you into financial overflow, which then completely creates financial freedom for you. So as I was going through everything that we've been talking about so far with identifying this and healing this and starting to open myself up to new ways abundance could flow into my life, I started to create the new supportive belief system and standard for myself that money was an overflowing constant in my life. Not only was money overflowing, but it was constant, an overflowing constant in my life. And as I was rewiring the structure of my subconscious mind for that and really starting to energetically open myself up to that, I started to attract more and more money into my life. So again, you are the powerful co-creator of your reality. Set that new standard for yourself, that money gets to be an overflowing constant in your life, because here's the thing. What you experience on an internal level is what you're going to experience then externally, but you must experience it internally first. So although in our society, we have been conditioned to believe that you must see it before you can believe it, the truth of the matter is that you want to believe it first. You want to believe that money is an overflowing constant in your life, because due to the universal law of correspondence, what you experience internally is what you're going to experience externally. So if you can create this internal world of overflow, if you can create this internal world of value, if you can create this internal world of abundance, then that's what you are going to start to experience externally. That vibration, that energy gets projected out through your emotions, through your thoughts, through your behaviors on a day-to-day basis, and by the universal law of attraction, attracts back in more abundance, more money, more value into your life. So creating this internal world of abundance, this internal world of overflow. If you are already that version of yourself who had the financial freedom, how would you feel on a day-to-day basis? What would you know to be true? How would you treat yourself? How would you treat money? How would you treat others? Show up as that version of yourself internally. And that doesn't mean go swipe your credit card everywhere, go buy the luxury bags, go buy the car, go buy all of these things. No, again, we're starting from the internal place first. You don't have to spend a single penny in order for you to step into this embodiment. Because by creating this internal embodiment, by creating that internal abundance, by creating the internal overflow, that will, in time, create the external overflow. And the more that you can embody this and know that it is your truth, even though the external reality may not match up with it yet, the sooner you will start to experience it on the external. So put your focus into overflow. Overflow is the key to eliminating debt. It is the key to eliminating unfortunate financial circumstances. It is the key to creating that financial freedom for yourself. More than enough money. Not just enough, not just a little bit less than enough, more than enough. Because what you put your focus and attention into is what is going to expand. So if you're constantly putting your focus and attention into how you don't have enough money, how much debt you're in, how much you wish that your financial circumstances were different, then that's going to feed that scarcity. That's going to feed the lack, and that's going to continue to manifest more of it. But if you can put your focus into overflow, where your focus goes, energy flows, that is what is going to expand, then you're going to create more overflow. And with that overflow, that helps you then eliminate the debt or anything else that you are needing to create the financial freedom in your life. And lastly, once you've created that financial overflow, the goal is to continue to expand and integrate. So what I mean by this is, again, once you create that financial freedom, the goal isn't to just create that financial freedom and then go back to your old patterns and behaviors that got you to your less than ideal financial circumstances in the first place. The goal is to continue to expand and integrate this new wealth consciousness at every level of your life. Because just like going to the gym, if you were to go and work out and get super fit and then decide to just go back to all of the habits, the patterns, and the behaviors that you had prior to getting fit that had you in your less than ideal body, that's the same reality for money. What gets you to the place of creating financial freedom is something that you want to maintain and integrate at every single level of your life to continue to not only sustain the financial freedom that you have, but continue to generate more wealth, generate more money, and have that abundant life that you desire for yourself. So see this as going to the gym. It's not a you have to or you need to. You don't have to or need to do anything. But if you want to maintain this healthy, happy, abundant relationship with money, if you want to maintain that financial freedom, if you want to continue to expand beyond where you're at financially and continue to grow in wealth and abundance and money, then see it like going to the gym. You want to consistently show up in order to not only maintain, but continue to grow. That's not something that you have to do. That's something you get to do. And being able to come to the table for each of these things from the energy of I get to is such a game changer. When you are in the energy of I need to, I have to, I should do in order to get whatever it is that I want, that's coming from the energy of lack. And when you are embodying that energy of lack, that gets projected into everything that you're doing. Whereas if you approach this from the energy of I get to and I'm choosing to, that comes from the energy of abundance. That's coming from the energy of choice. So that then gets projected into what you are doing and manifests more abundance. Oftentimes, and if you're one of my clients, or if, you're here listening to the podcast often, you hear me say this all the time. It's not so much the action, but the energy behind the action. When I was in high school, I used to force myself into doing insane workouts because I was so unhappy with my body. And it was very much coming from this energy of fear and scarcity and lack that if I didn't work out, I was going to get fat, or I was going to look a certain way, or I was going to be even more unhappy with myself. And from that energy of lack, forcing myself to take that action, I eventually was led to the position where I was so resentful towards working out, so resentful towards my body that I just stopped doing it because it was so painful to even look at that situation. The same can be true with your finances. If you're approaching this from the energy of should do or need to or have to, and it feels like force and lack to get there, you're going to further resent money or further create a unhealthy dynamic and relationship with money, which then doesn't serve or support the goal of creating that financial freedom, or will help you get there, but then ultimately won't be sustainable because holding yourself in that energy long-term just isn't sustainable. Your subconscious mind is literally programmed to try and keep you safe. And if there's this thing that feels so nasty on a day-to-day basis, eventually your subconscious mind is going to identify that as the problem and say, nope, don't do that anymore. And that's where a lot of times people experience that feeling, that habit of self-sabotage, is because there's so much resentment towards this thing that they quote unquote think is good for them. So the reality of this and what I am saying is approaching this from the energy of get to and choose to, because that is the energy of abundance. When you choose to do something from the energy of abundance, that feels supportive. So now when I exercise, I get to do that. I get to move my body. I get to love my body. I am choosing to exercise, and now I see it as an act of self-love. Before it was an act of discipline, before it was an act of scarcity and lack, now it's an act of love. It's an act of abundance. It's an act of something that gets to serve and support me. The same is true for money. So again, see this not as something that you have to do, but something that you get to do. And through that, I can only imagine the incredible shifts and changes that you're going to see inside of your finances in 2024. So just as a quick recap for you for everything that we talked about in today's podcast episode, first, you really want to understand your current money story and what your relationship and dynamic is with money, because you cannot change what you are not willing to recognize. From that point, you want to work on healing your relationship with your finances and clearing your financial past so that you have a fresh canvas to then open yourself up to abundance and rewire your subconscious mind for these new abundant, supportive stories that help grow and sustain your finances. Creating overflow as your new standard. That is the baseline. That is the standard. That is what you are available for. And once you are there, then continuing to expand and integrate at each level by staying consistent with these healthy, supportive, abundant practices that got you to financial freedom in the first place. This is what I have done to create financial freedom in my life. This is what I've now helped over 400 women with in their journeys to shifting their relationship with money and creating financial freedom in their lives. And like I've already said many times throughout this podcast episode, if this is what you're wanting to do in your life in 2024, come hang out with us inside of the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle. The Wealthy as Fuck mini course is going to be so powerful. And if you're wanting to take it further from that point, there's also other options to dive even deeper into healing your relationship with money. But come hang out with us inside of the Mindset and Manifestation Inner Circle. We can get you started from that point. And if there's any questions that you have whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. But until then, I'm sending you all of my love, and I will chat with you on the next podcast episode.
Hey, real quick before you go, I have something for you. If you are loving the No Bullshit Manifestation Show and you're always wanting to expand and calibrate your nervous system for greater levels of wealth, then I've created the perfect nervous system expansion meditation for you. This meditation will take you through the process that I use to start to calling greater levels of wealth into my life and calibrate your nervous system for more money moving forward. All you have to do to claim this meditation is leave a review for the No Bullshit Manifestation Show on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Take a screenshot of your review and send it to me via email, which is hello@katkozad.com. Once I get your email with the screenshot of the review, I will send you the link to claim your nervous system expansion meditation for money manifestation. You can also find these instructions down below in the show notes. But with that, that's all that I have for you, and I am sending you my love. I'll chat with you on the next podcast.